Welcome to the deep dive. We take complex topics and really try to boil them down for you.
Get you the key stuff.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into something a lot of you have asked about. The monk class in the new 2024 D&D rules. You want to get up to speed quickly, but, properly understand the changes.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. The monk, I mean, it's such an iconic class, right? The martial artist, all about unarmored fighting.
Striker, defender, scout. They can kind of do a bit of everything.
They really can, though historically maybe a bit tricky to build sometimes, needing multiple good stats, that multiple ability dependent or MAD thing people talk about.
Right. So, okay, let's get right to it. Our mission today, break down the monk from the 2024 Player's Handbook, see exactly what's different from the 2014 version.
We'll hit the main class features first.
Yep, core features first. Then we'll look at the subclasses, Warrior of Mercy, Shadow, elements that once had a big rework, and Open Hand.
And how all this affects actually building a character, right? Backgrounds, species choices, feats, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. And just so you know where we're coming from, we've looked at a few different guides.
Yeah, the main 2024 monk class guide, the subclasses guide, specific ones for elements and open hand.
And importantly, the 5e to 2024 transition guide, just to pinpoint the exact changes.
You make sure we're comparing apples to apples, basically.
Okay, so let's start at the heart of it. Core monk features. First up, martial arts. What's new?
Okay, big one right off the bat. That bonus unarmed strike you get, you don't have to take the attack action first anymore.
Oh, okay. That sounds subtle, but potentially quite impactful. How does that change things, like on turn one?
It's huge for flexibility. You can, say, move into position, make that unarmed strike as your action, maybe, or even use your action for something else entirely.
And still get the punch in.
Well, no, the bonus unarmed strike is still a bonus action, but you don't need the attack action first to qualify for it using martial arts. Sorry, let me rephrase that slightly. The key is you can make the bonus action unarmed strike even if you didn't take the attack action.
Ah, I see. So maybe you dashed it or dodged with your action, but you can still smack someone with your bonus action fist.
Not quite that. Martial arts lets you make one unarmed strike as a bonus action when you make an unarmed strike or attack with a monk weapon as part of the attack action. The change is subtle. Let's look at flurry of blows instead. Maybe that's clearer.
Okay, yeah, let's pin that and maybe circle back. What about the damage itself? Any changes there?
Yes, definitely. The damage die for your unarmed strikes starts better. It's a D6 right from level 1 now.
Oh, nice.
And it basically stays one step higher all the way up the levels compared to the old rules. So just more reliable damage output.
Okay, solid buff. And I heard something about grappling. Monks weren't exactly known for that.
Right. But now you can use your dexterity modifier for grapple checks.
Whoa, really? Not strength?
Nope, dexterity. And since monks usually max dex anyway and they're super mobile, yeah, they can actually become pretty decent grapplers now. Dart in, grab someone, move them around. It's an interesting new angle.
Okay, cool. Now, Kia. It's called Monk's Focus now. Just the name change, or?
More than just a name change, yeah. The core idea is the same. That pool of inner energy, but how you use it has been tweaked. Like flurry of blows.
Right, the double punch.
That also no longer requires you to take the attack action first. So you spend the focus point, and boom, 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Much more flexible.
So, again, more freedom in how you structure your turn. You could, I don't know, use your action to help someone, then flurry.
Exactly. Or dodge, then flurry. Or use an object, then flurry. It just opens things up.
Makes sense. And patient defense and step of the wind, I heard these got some major love.
Oh, yeah, this is a big one. Patient defense. Taking the dodge action still costs a focus point as a bonus action. But now you can take the disengage action as a bonus action for free. No focus point needed.
Free disengage as a bonus action.
Wow. Yeah. Huge for survivability, getting out of melee safely. And if you do spend the focus point, you get the dodge, and you can still disengage for free because it doesn't take your bonus action anymore. Wait, no, let me check that. Ah, right. Patient defense. Spend 1 focus point to dodge as a bonus action. Separately, Step of the Wind now gives you disengage or dash as a bonus action for free.
Okay, so free dash or free disengage is a bonus action via Step of the Wind.
Correct. And then if you spend 1 focus point with Step of the Wind, you can get an additional effect. If you dashed, you can also disengage. If you disengaged, you can also dash.
Hold on. So for 1 focus point, I can dash and disengage with my bonus action. Or disengage and dash.
Yep. Incredible mobility and safety for just 1 point. Or you just take the free dash or free disengage if you don't need the combo.
That feels really strong. Controlling the battlefield, getting where you need to be, or getting out safely.
Definitely. It makes the monk feel much more fluid. And speaking of resources, there's a new feature called uncanny metabolism.
Sounds restorative. Good for longer adventuring days.
Exactly its purpose. Once per long rest, when you roll initiative, so right at the start of combat, you just get all your focus points back.
All of them.
All your expended ones, yeah. And you heal some hit points, too, based on your monk level plus wisdom mod. It's a fantastic sustainability boost. Means you can go a bit harder in earlier fights knowing you might get that refresh.
Okay, that's a game changer for resource management. Now, deflect missiles is gone, replaced by deflect attacks.
Yeah, and this is a major upgrade defensively. Deflect attacks works against melee attacks as well as ranged attacks now.
Oh, wow, so that guy swinging a sword at you. You can use your reaction to potentially reduce the damage.
Reduce it, and if you reduce it to 0, you can spend a focus point to make an unarmed strike back, just like deflect missiles worked against ranged. It makes monks much tougher in close combat, too.
Nice. What about stunning strike? Still the monk's signature lockdown move.
Still there, still powerful. But there's a change if the target succeeds on their save.
Ah.
Oh.
They used to just do nothing if they saved, right?
Right. Now, even if they save, their speed is halved until the start of your next turn, and the next attack roll made against them before then has advantage.
Oh, so it's not wasted even on a save. That's good. Any downside?
The stun condition itself, if they fail to save, now ends at the start of your next turn. So it's a slightly shorter duration than before. A bit of a trade-off.
Gotcha. And empowered strikes. Sounds like Kai Empowered Strikes got a new coat of paint.
And a power boost. Your unarmed strikes count as magical, yes, but now you can choose to make them deal force damage instead of their normal bludgeoning.
Force damage. That bypasses almost all resistances, right?
Pretty much. Very useful against resistant enemies. The only thing to keep in mind, like you mentioned with grappling earlier, is if you're using feats like Crusher, which needs bludgeoning damage, you'll have to choose whether you want the force damage or the Crusher effect.
Makes sense. Tactical choice. Evasion.
Yeah.
Still dodging fireballs.
Still dodging fireballs. The only change is it doesn't work if you're incapacitated, which, seems fair. If you're knocked out, you're probably not deftly dodging explosions.
Fair point. Okay, we also lost a couple of features, Purity of Body and Tongue of the Sun and Moon.
Yeah, both removed. Purity of Body, the immunity to disease and poison, is kind of replaced by a new level 10 feature, Self-Restoration.
We'll get to that. What about Tongue of the Sun and Moon? Understanding all languages.
Gone completely. Maybe seen as less core to the monk's identity? Hard to say, but it's not in the 2024 version.
Okay, but level 10 brings new stuff too. Heightened focus. Sounds potent.
It really is. It juices up your core focus point abilities.
Yeah.
Flurry of blows. Now it's 3 unarmed strikes instead of 2 when you spend the point.
3, wow, okay.
Patient defense.
Yeah.
Spend the point to dodge, and you also gain temporary hit points equal to your wisdom modifier. Nice little buffer.
And Step of the Wind.
Spend the point for the dash disengage combo, and you can also bring one willing creature you touch along with your movement. Like, grab your squishy wizard buddy and dash them out of danger.
That's pretty cool utility. Okay, and you mentioned Self-Restoration also at level 10, replacing Purity of Body.
Mostly, yeah. At the end of each of your turns, if you're charmed, frightened, or poisoned, the condition just ends automatically. No save needed.
Nice. Does it still cover diseases?
No, diseases aren't covered by this, but it does also mean you no longer need food or water, less bookkeeping.
Okay, interesting. Moving up, level 13, Deflect Energy. This builds on deflect attacks.
It does, and it's another huge defensive upgrade. Deflect attacks normally only works on attacks dealing bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. Deflect Energy lets you use it against any damage type.
Any type. So fire breath, lightning bolt, psychic damage.
If it's from an attack roll, yes. Or even things that require saves sometimes. The wording is when you take damage. So potentially spells, breath weapons. It makes you incredibly resilient to all sorts of damage.
Wow, okay. Level 14. Disciplined Survivor. That's the new name for Diamond Soul.
Yep. Renamed, but functionally the same. Proficiency in all saving throws. And if you fail a save, you can spend a focus point to re-roll it. Still absolutely essential for high-level survival.
Can't argue with that. Level 15 brings Perfect Focus, replacing Perfect Self.
Right. Perfect Self used to give you focus points back if you started combat with none. Perfect Focus is similar, but maybe a bit better.
How so?
If you start combat with fewer than 4 focus points, your total immediately becomes 4.
Oh, so it guarantees a decent starting pool, even if you weren't completely empty.
Exactly. Ensures you can always use your key abilities at the start of a fight. Just a heads up, though. You can't benefit from this and Uncanny Metabolism in the same combat. You get one big resource refresh, not both.
Sensible limitation. Okay, level 18, empty body is gone. But we get superior defense.
Correct. Empty body let you spend 4 ki to become invisible and get resistance to all damage except force for a minute. Superior defense costs only 3 focus points. Yep. And it gives you resistance to all damage except force for 1 minute, but no invisibility.
So trade invisibility for a lower cost on the broad resistance. Seems like a decent trade, maybe?
Depends on the situation, but yeah, consistent, cheaper resistance is pretty solid.
And finally, the capstone. Level 20, body and mind. What's the boost here?
It's a big boost. Instead of the old +2 to dexterity and wisdom, it's now +4 to both dexterity and wisdom.
+4 to both.
Yep. Huge increase to your attack, damage, AC, save DCs.
Yeah.
Everything that makes a monk tick. It's a massive capstone now.
Wow. Okay, the core class definitely feels buffed overall. More flexible, more resilient, better resources.
I'd agree. Lots of quality of life improvements and some significant power bumps.
All right, let's pivot to the subclasses then. How have they fared? Starting with the Warrior of Mercy.
Mercy still has that cool blend of hurting and healing, hand of healing, physician's touch, all that is still central.
But I heard change to Flurry of Healing and Harm.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest change here. You know how you could weave healing or extra necrotic damage into your flurry of blows?
Yeah.
That's now limited. You can only do it a number of times per long rest equal to your wisdom modifier.
Ah, okay. So no more spamming that every flurry. A bit of a nerf there.
Definitely a resource to manage now. They still get insight and medicine proficiency, though the guides we looked at were a bit down on medicine's general usefulness.
Yeah, it depends on the campaign, I guess.
True. But they do keep Implements of Mercy, letting them use an herbalism kit to make healing potions and antitoxins during downtime, which is still nice utility.
Okay. How about the stealthy one, Warrior of Shadow?
Still all about darkness and teleportation. Shadow Art's got a shuffle. You don't automatically get dark vision, pass without trace, or silence anymore.
Oh, what replaces them?
Well, the darkness spell now only costs 1 focus point instead of 2, which is nice. And crucially, you can see through your own magical darkness.
Oh, that's huge. No more blinding yourself.
Exactly. And you do gain dark vision if you don't have it, or increase its range if you do. So you still get some dark vision benefit.
What about Shadow Step, the teleport?
Improved Shadow Step lets you do it as a bonus action. Now, if you want to use it without needing dim light or darkness to jump between, it costs 1 focus point. And when you use it, you immediately make an unarmed strike. Sort of integrates the teleport and attack.
Okay. And Cloak of Shadows? Isn't that their invisibility thing?
It is, but it's moved way up to level 17 now, and it's reworked. Costs 3 focus points, you become invisible for a full minute, and while you're invisible, you can use Flurry of Blows for free each turn.
Whoa. Level 17, but free flurries while invisible for a minute. That sounds pretty epic.
Yeah, it's a powerful late-game ability now.
Okay, now the big one. Warrior of the Elements. You said completely reimagined. Goodbye, Way of the 4 Elements.
Pretty much, yeah. Forget most of what you knew. This is built differently. The core is a feature called Elemental Attunement. As a free action, once per turn, you spend 1 focus point to attune to an element air, earth, fire, or water. This lasts for 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
That's ages in combat time. What does attuning do?
While attuned, your unarmed strikes get 15 feet of reach.
15-foot reach punches.
Yep. They deal extra damage of your chosen element type, acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder, depending on attunement, and you can try to push or pull the target 10 feet.
All from 1 focus point for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That seems way better than the old elemental disciplines.
It's much more consistent, yeah. There's a ribbon feature called Manipulate Elements, just minor cantrip-like stuff, no real combat use. But then you get Elemental Burst.
AoE damage.
Yeah, spend focus points for an area blast of your attuned element's damage type. Think like a mini fireball centered on yourself, but you can choose the element.
Cool. What else?
Stride of the Elements gives you a fly speed equal to your movement speed while attuned and keeps that 15-foot reach going.
Flying elemental monk.
Pretty much. And the capstone, Elemental Epitome, while you're attuned, gives you resistance to a damage type you choose each turn, lets you deal damage when you use Step of the Wind, and adds even more damage to your unarmed strikes. It's a much more cohesive elemental warrior feel.
Sounds like a massive improvement over the old 4 elements.
Hmm.
Okay, finally, Warrior of the Open Hand. The classic monk enhancer.
Still very much that. Focuses on making your core monk stuff better, especially flurry of blows with the open hand technique.
Right, the extra effects: knock prone, push away, stop reactions.
Those are still there. Topple prone, push 15 feet away, and addle, disadvantage on attacks, can't take reactions. Still choose one per hit with flurry. Interestingly, the push effect still just says away, which could still lead to table discussions about angles.
Huh, yeah, some things never change. What about wholeness of body? There's self-heal.
Changed quite a bit. It's now a bonus action, which is faster. It heals less, just a roll of your martial arts die plus Wismod, but you can use it multiple times per long rest, equal to your proficiency bonus. So more frequent, smaller heals instead of one big one.
Okay, different approach. And fleet step.
This is new and simple. You can take the dash action as a free action on each of your turns.
Free dash every turn. On top of Step of the Wind's free dash disengage, open hand monks are going to be fast.
Unbelievably mobile, yeah. Tranquility, the old out-of-combat sanctuary effect, is gone, though.
Okay. And Quivering Palm, the insta-kill move.
Reworked. It's no longer an insta-kill. Now, you hit someone, spend 3 focus points, and they have to make a constitution save. If they fail, they take a big chunk of force damage, 10 times your monk level.
10 times, so potentially 200 damage at level 20. That's still huge.
It's massive damage, yeah. But it requires a failed con save, which can be tough against big monsters, and it costs 3 focus points. So it's a big nuke option, but maybe less reliable than the old version, and competes with just using those points for more flurries or stunning strikes.
Gotcha. Big damage spike, but conditional.
Right.
Okay, so taking all that into account, core changes, subclass updates, how do you actually go about building a monk now? Let's talk backgrounds, species, feats.
Right. Well, dexterity is still king. Absolutely #1 stat. So for backgrounds, you want ones that ideally give dex and maybe con or wisdom.
Which ones look good?
The guides liked things like guide, sailor, scribe, wayfarer, maybe charlatan or criminal if those fit your concept. The key thing now is backgrounds give you an origin feat.
Right, the free level 1 feat based on background.
Yeah, and you also get to choose your +2 and +1 ability score increases or 3+1s regardless of what the background description says. So you can always put points into dex and wiscon.
Okay, much more flexible background choice then. What about species?
You gotta think about your role. Want to be tougher, lean towards defender, maybe a species with more HP or defensive perks, focusing on striker. Maybe something with extra skills or combat options.
Like human for the extra skill and feat.
Human's always solid for that reason, yeah.
Yeah.
But also watch out for overlap. Like if you pick an Aasimar or Dragonborn variant that gets flight.
It might make the Warrior of the Elements stride feature less special later on.
Exactly. So think about synergy or maybe anti-synergy. You want abilities that complement dexterity, wisdom, and constitution primarily.
Could you give us an example? Say someone wants to play that new Warrior of the Elements. What species might work well thematically or mechanically?
Oh, good question. Well, Genasi seemed like an obvious thematic fit, right? Being elementally infused.
Yeah, makes sense.
An Earth Genasi gets Blade Ward as a cantrip sometimes, or Pass Without Trace could be handy. Air Genasi get extra speed and Featherfall. Fire Genasi get fire spells. Water Genasi get some water utility. They all lean into that elemental feel really nicely.
Okay, cool. So thematic links are strong there. Ability scores then? Dex first was second.
Dex first, absolutely. Then Wisdom, it fuels your AC, your save DCs for stunning strike and subclass stuff. Then Constitution for hit points. You really need all 3 to be decent.
And strength, intelligence, charisma.
Usually the dump stats, yeah. Unless you have a very specific concept, you don't get much mechanical benefit from them as a monk.
Right. Feats. We mentioned origin feats from backgrounds. What about the ones you choose when you level up?
Tavern Brawler is still interesting if you want to lean into grappling alongside your unarmed strikes, maybe using improvised weapons. Grappler itself is obviously good if you really want to grapple, especially with Dex now applying.
What about Crusher? We mentioned that it interacts with empowered strikes.
Yeah, Crusher's great with open hands push, letting you shove enemies around even more. But if you're using empowered strikes for force damage, Crusher won't trigger. So it's good, but situational depending on your damage type choice.
Any feats to maybe avoid? Ones that clash with monk features?
Well, Defensive Duelist uses your reaction to boost AC, but you already have deflect attacks competing for that reaction, so maybe less valuable. Speedy gives extra movement, but monks are already incredibly fast, especially with Step of the Wind's free dash. Might be overkill.
Gotcha. And high-level stuff.
Yeah.
Epic boons.
Yeah, if your game gets that high, Boon of Combat Prowess adds to your attack rolls, always good. Boon of energy resistance could stack nicely with deflect energy. Maybe Boon of fate, imposing disadvantage on enemy saves, could make your stunning strikes land more often. Lots of good options there.
Okay. What about gear? Weapons and armor? Any changes?
Still proficient in simple weapons and martial weapons with the light property. Those count as monk weapons if they're melee. Spears are now a default starting weapon option, which is neat.
But no weapon mastery for monks.
No, they don't get access to the weapon mastery system. And armor is still a no-go, obviously. You're relying on unarmored defense. 10 plus dex mod plus wis mod for your AC.
Makes sense. And briefly, multi-classing. Any interesting dips now?
It's always tricky for monks because they need stats and Kai points scale with monk level. But maybe a level of barbarian for rage damage bonus. Though unarmored defenses might clash.
Fighter for action surge.
Could be okay for a burst turn, maybe. Ranger could offer Hunter's Mark for bonus damage, maybe some expertise. Rogue is always tempting for expertise and cunning action, but monks get bonus action stuff already.
Druid for Shillelagh, using wisdom to attack.
Less appealing now, I think. Monks want to make lots of attacks, often with bonus actions, and Shillelagh uses your bonus action to activate. Plus, your martial arts die often scales better than a D8 quarterstaff anyway, so probably not optimal.
Okay. One last thing. Backward compatibility. If someone wants to use an old background or species from, say, Xanathar's Guide.
Yeah, the rule is simple. Ignore the specific ability score increases listed in the old source. Just apply the new 2024 rule, pick your +2, +1, or 3 +1s. But all the other features of that background or species, the skills, tools, special abilities, you can use those as written.
So some flexibility there to mix and match. Good to know.
Definitely helps integrate older character concepts.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Big picture. The 2024 monk seems like a significant step up, wouldn't you say?
I think so, yeah. Largely positive changes across the board. They feel more mobile, more versatile in combat, and definitely better at managing their resources.
Those free bonus action dashes and disengages from Step of the Wind feel huge. Deflect attacks working on melee is massive, and uncanny metabolism providing that big resource refresh.
Absolutely. These address some long-standing monk frustrations and just make the class feel more consistently effective and fun to play, I think.
It definitely feels like a good time to reconsider the monk if you've maybe shied away from it before.
Yeah, I totally agree. Lots of new potential there for different builds and playstyles.
All right, so here's a final thought for you to chew on. We talked about monks becoming surprisingly good grapplers with their dexterity combined with their insane mobility now. What are some really unexpected, maybe even slightly crazy, battlefield-controlled tricks you could pull off with that combination?
Ooh, interesting question. Grab the caster and run them up a wall.
Huh. Maybe. Definitely something to think about. We hope this deep dive has given you a solid understanding of the new monk. For even more detail, definitely check out those full class guides and subclass breakdowns.
Yeah, there's always more nuances to explore.
Thanks for tuning in.